Okay, hey, it's Rex here talking about my low-cost build again. Here's my dilemma. The sump. When I take my tape measure like this and I measure it, I'm 80 mils off the ground. Now here's what's causing it. A Generation 5 3S GE has this big aluminium plate. In it, it has this guard which, like knife edge on a crankshaft, it's gathering the oil and putting it in the bottom. Then you've got an oil pickup. Then you've got a guard, an anti-splash, anti-surge device here, right? From here to here, I have 160, and like I'm only 80 off the ground. Now some thoughts on this whole thing. Right now, with the dipstick in, the oil high mark is just here, 10 mils just over the edge of this ledge, 10 mils down, right? So from just here is the full mark on the dipstick. All of that's capacity and what I've shown you. Some thoughts. Maybe I could cut 40 mils, giving me another 40 mils of travel. Cut it through here. Perhaps even put a capacity of a box welded on coming out here to hold a bit more oil capacity, either front or back or side. I've got a lot of room, you know. And then I thought perhaps I could even run the oil maybe 20 mils over, because it's still, the oil level is still not getting anywhere near the crankshaft, even if I ran it 20 mils higher, maybe 25 mils higher. So a little bit further up the dipstick, maybe this far up the dipstick. My other options, I don't know that it would work, would be to change the sump to an earlier generation 3S. You know, Gen 3, Gen 4. I started to look into this. This is the oil pickup. Oil comes up here, goes into the front housing, which is a centric oil pump. This hole, when I blow through it, comes straight out the center of the oil filter. So I reckon it goes like this. Negative pressure on the oil, through the oil pump, positive pressure down that hole, out to here, down that drilling, back up out of here and feeding the motor. And in the meantime, the device hanging off the front of the sump, it's got a spring and a plunger that sets the oil pressure. So that's the oil pressure relief valve. So if I change sump, how do I get oil pressure relief controlled? That's another issue too. And as we finish off this video, if we can go around the other side of the car, just here, you'll see a blank on the oil filter. So just underneath there, the oil filter has a cap and it's going to water cooling. So the earlier generations of the 3S GE had the oil filter on the side. Final thoughts. I got this nose cone. It sits here. It's pretty much covering a lot of the motor without having to cut a hole in the bonnet. But this big Altezza intake manifold, it's going to come clean out the side. So I thought perhaps I could cut these tubes, best seen from over here. I could cut these tubes and re-weld them in a tighter bend and take this whole intake manifold and roll it under, because there's nothing under here, it's all empty. As long as I kept the same runner length, I could fold this intake manifold underneath. I've never opened one of these and seen what's inside, and I don't have a spare one to open. So anyway, that is all my dilemmas in trying to put a very tall 3S and a low cost. So if anybody's got any ideas, tell me. One way would be to dry sump it, but I don't have a dry sump pump and they're expensive, you know. So a lot of guys out there on these forums, throw me some ideas if you can think of anything good.